Get to the chopper!
You know what you are? You're one of those little fancy lads, aren't you?
Link and I are cruising the mountain, bro. And we figure we'd some little juice.
Welcome, everybody, to another Q's and Tease episode of the Unkind Rewind. We'll be talking to our guest, Daniel H. Wilson, in a little bit, where we will reveal what movie we will be watching for next week. Fun conversation. Went in some weird places.
Yeah, definitely some surprises on that one.
Yeah. I like getting a picture of someone's youth because I think they're like little weird surprising things that you can find out about people that aren't just the typical,
I think the lesson here is like it's very, very rare we get a typical upbringing. Everybody's got their own little spin on things, and we get a little color here and there. It's just kind of have to find where it comes from. And
and there's a lot of color in Daniel's interview, which I think is really fucking fun.
And things that probably felt really normal at the time,
Yeah.
for a young man.
Yeah. So you headed out to West Point, if I'm not mistaken.
I was in West Point. West Point, New York.
How was it?
It was good. I mean, it was for a new staged play, a stage reading of a new play. So a play in the works about veterans' spouses and the life that they have and the life that they, I guess, endure being away from their husbands and wives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And having to move as often as they do, and what that's like when kids are in school and kids are like in school and they have friends and you have friends and you have maybe a small business, and then the Army says you're going to Louisiana. Tough.
Right.
Yeah. And also just a lot more heavy stuff too with, say, losing your spouse. And but yeah, we were up at West Point, so it was a very kind of home court advantage, at least in the crowd.
Sure.
And then got a tour of West Point, which is beautiful.
Okay. Yeah.
Very gorgeous campus. A lot of I think they graduate about 1,000 cadets every year. So putting out the best and the brightest. Got to see
really fucking hard to get in.
Yeah, some walking around as 18-year-olds.
Yeah.
And our connection there had two sons who were second years, which are, I believe the term is yucks. They call them second years, the yucks. Okay. And so they showed up and they kind of escorted us. But yeah, certainly a privileged tour. We could not have been on there without that type of access. But yeah, I love the Hudson Valley. I don't get up to it enough being in New York City, but it's amazing how gorgeous the state can be when you get outside of the cesspool where I live.
Yeah.
Take a hard shower and
just go up the fjord, man.
Scrape off the grime. Yeah, and get on a fucking train, man. Like Metro North or Amtrak, just get out of the city. It doesn't take too long.
Were you playing a vet or an active service member, or were you playing the spouse?
I was playing a spouse.
Okay.
Yeah. I also did a kind of a funny departure, like one of the only comedic scenes in the show, in the reading, where I was a kind of staff sergeant who was giving the spouses the rundown on acronyms in the military.
Okay.
And then it devolves into a almost completely like a total acronym laced kind of tirade.
Sure. Yeah.
Hopefully that makes
I can picture
cut.
that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How are you? What's up with you?
Well, I've been, I'm fully on board this Wolves train.
Oh man, was it the last time we talked like this where I
Yes.
was like,
Uh-huh. You were like,
I
if
can't
show
do
me
it.
something. Yeah, show me if you guys don't win a fucking series. And yeah, they won a series all right.
They destroyed a franchise kind of in the process. It feels
Yeah.
like they
Yeah, they
really showcased the win now Suns are not going to win now, and probably not next year when Durant's a year older.
no.
Um, but boy, is it very strange, unsettling, a little scary to have a team that I followed for as long as this, since its inception.
That has been with 1 year as an exception.
Yeah.
Since what, 1989 was the first
Yep.
Wolves year?
Pooh Richardson.
Yep. Since 1989, they have had one fucking year where they won a playoff series. I mean, I checked
And
out for like 15 years. You know,
so
basically after when KG left, and I wanted him to leave for his sake.
yeah, we all did.
Yeah, when KG left, I was just kind of like, what is there to root for? And there wasn't anything to root for over a decade.
So prior to this year, the Wolves have won two playoff series,
Both in 2004.
both in 2004 in the lifetime of the franchise. This team has won one and is knocking at the door of two. I don't want to I don't want to go crazy. But
Denver's an insanely talented team, even with a dinged up Murray and KCP, and potentially Reggie Jackson now.
You can do a lot with
Yeah.
a Serbian. And
A Serbian and Gordon and MPJ are no joke.
they are going to come. I mean, they're back. If their backs weren't against the wall, their backs are in the wall now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I mean, and that's the thing too, is like the Wolves are healthy. Like there's this chatter about Jamal Murray, right, with his calf.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the other teams that were in the playoffs this year, you fuck the Bucks. I mean, the Bucks
Yeah.
had Giannis go down. Lillard kind of limped in. He missed a game.
Even the Sixers didn't. I mean, Embiid was what, 70%?
The Heat could not do anything without Butler.
Sure.
They're talking a little bit about how Luka is back, banged up in Dallas.
Yep.
I'm sure there's more examples. I mean, the fact that the Knicks are kind of doing as well as they are without Julius Randle,
Yep.
is amazing. But they got a tough test waiting for them with a healthy Boston team coming up.
Yeah.
Presumably.
Yeah,
But
obviously the two teams, if the Wolves were to get past Denver, the two teams that look the scariest are the two teams that they would have to face, probably. So
OKC and Boston.
the presumptive favorites to advance from their
And
their respective
OKC
seats.
is weird in this like strange religious cult kind of way where I'm just like, they're just going to be really, really good
Yeah.
and coached well, a hard place to win. They're going to have home court advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're all sleeping on OKC, like at least the media right now, because of how magnetic Anthony Edwards has been.
Which, holy shit.
Rightly so.
And this will drop before the game 3, but holy shit.
Yeah.
Was game 2 just the most insane defensive fucking performance I think I've ever seen? And I was watching those 04 Pistons.
Do it again.
I know, but Jesus fucking Christ, man. I mean, the defense was great in game 1, but game 2 without the fucking defensive player of the year.
I mean, game 1 it was tied 84-84, right? So Wolves were on a late run.
Yeah.
Game 3 they could absolutely be tied that late with Denver, and Denver could go on a run. So
Absolutely, yeah.
We'll see which is the true, the true representative of what Denver is now. Is it going to be more game 1, which is close to the very end, or is it going to be game 2 where they just give up?
It was shocking to see them just hand the Nuggets their ass.
Yeah.
It was basically over by what, the 2 minutes into the second quarter or so. It was just like, this is done.
When you have Mike Malone reacting like that, when you have Jamal Murray throwing shit on the court, I mean, that's
$100,000 fine. I'm shocked he didn't get suspended.
Yeah, I think they want the game 3 magic. But
sure.
Yeah, I think Anthony Edwards throws shit on the court and Jokic almost slips on it like Cat almost did.
Absolutely.
He's suspended. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you want that respect, I guess he's going to have to go and take it.
Feels like he's taking it. Uh, so have you been up to anything else?
Let's see. Doing a lot of Cinequote stuff right now.
Sure. Oh
Just did
yeah,
a
you
big,
guys just had the you
big,
guys launched a new sort of version, if you will.
yeah, big redesign. Um, yeah, doing a lot of auditions right now. It feels like we're kind of coming back a little bit.
Uh-huh.
So getting down to the casting offices, uh,
This
a
is mostly
lot.
commercial stuff.
Mostly commercial stuff. Did a audition for a Netflix thing with Vanessa Kirby, which
Oh,
would,
cool.
would be great because the scenes with her. But
Yeah. Was she? No, I'm assuming she wasn't there for the.
no, no, she won't come in for my stuff.
Was the director there, or was this just with a casting director,
There was somebody from, I
a
don't think it was the
producer or
director
something?
yet. Yeah, we'll see. Knock on wood.
AP probably.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that'd be great.
Sorry, associate producer.
Shop talk.
So, yes. Sometimes I just jump right into the jargony
But
abbreviations that no
also,
one
you know,
knows to say.
to be out here, the Knicks fever is
Yeah.
palpable.
Uh-huh.
Like everyone's feeling it. Um,
I mean, they haven't gotten to feel it in a long time.
yeah,
Even when they should have been able to, they couldn't.
I think people are in better moods. Like even people who, you know, because it's all infectious. So even if you don't give
Yeah.
a shit about basketball, when a team starts doing well,
Mhm.
like it changes the barometric pressure in a city
Yeah.
in a weird way.
Mhm.
I'm sure Minneapolis and St. Paul are like that now.
Yeah.
I mean, game 3, Jesus Christ.
There's going
It's
to be
gonna
a
be
fucking riot.
if they come out and I mean, because they're Minnesota sports, like even going up 3-0, if there's going
Everyone's
to be
uh-huh.
if there's going to be one team that folds on a 3-0, it would be a Minnesota
Yeah.
sports team,
Sure.
even though it's never happened in NBA.
Yeah.
And only happened once ever in sports, right?
Yeah, yeah. It was the Red Sox coming back on the Yankees in what,
Oh, 04.
05?
04, I think. It's 04.
Yeah, it's 04. 05 was the White Sox. Yeah.
Yeah. But holy shit, if they win game 3, like, I mean, you have a lot of big names saying that Wolves are gonna go for it. I still am terrified of OKC, but yeah, it's
I mean, the Wolves have the one big advantage in that they're just so fucking long and so fucking athletic. And
yeah.
so and just bigger. They're just bigger than like it's OKC's a nightmare. I'm not saying they aren't, but like the Wolves are just so fucking big. I
Yeah.
mean, to see Nas Reed, like Towns actually had a great fucking defensive game against Jokic in game 2, but to see Nas Reed just like fucking blocking like 2 shots on a possession of Jokic, you're just like, what the fuck is even happening here?
I think
I mean, Nas is great, but like to see Nas Reed basically hand Jokic's ass to him was wild to me.
I mean, the Thunder did figure out the Wolves twice last year,
Yeah,
so
sure.
or this year, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Have you seen anything good lately?
I mean, I went to go see Alien, which is amazing.
Yeah,
They brought
sure.
it back into theaters. Still just as good as I remembered. Saw a lot of cool new things with fresh eyes.
Mhm.
How great Weaver is. I mean, I think Ridley Scott found her or was referred to her. She was doing an off-Broadway show at that time.
That
And
sounds
78,
right, yeah. Mhm.
something like that. She was definitely New York theater.
Yeah.
And they're like, you got to go see this person. And that ended up being Sigourney Weaver. I'm so far behind with TV shows. I'm watching The Jinx right now.
The original?
The new
The
season
first
of
season?
that.
Oh, new season. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I've been bad about TV.
You know what show's really good? Sugar.
Really?
Yeah, the
I
Colin
like
Farrell.
Farrell. Yeah.
It's really good. And the first 6 episodes are up, and I think it's kind of operative that you see all 6 of the first 6. I don't want to say, I'm not going to say too much, but it's been very good. It's on Apple Plus. I just watched The Sorcerer or Sorcerer for the first time. The
Holy
William
shit.
Friedkin movie, the remake
Yeah.
of Wages of Fear. What a fucking
Yeah.
ride, man. Like,
I
I
saw
love
that.
Wages of Fear, but Jesus Christ, Sorcerer. Holy shit. Like,
I saw that at IFC Center in the Village, and it's a white knuckle
yeah.
experience. No, more people need to be talking about that movie.
It's got such a misleading name too, but I think that's honestly why why it's sort of, it's not forgotten, but why it doesn't get the credit that it deserves, because it is like, for me, no question, 5-star, like,
Yeah,
on
it's
Letterboxd.
it's an amazing movie.
Fucking incredible.
Not
And
only is
it's been hard to find, but it is on Criterion right now. So
it's almost like the export, the final product of that movie is amazing, and then having a sense of what it takes to make a movie also is like a 5-star experience.
yeah, it's almost like watching, if you've seen Burden of Dreams.
It very much feels like that, yeah.
The making of Fitzcarraldo, which everyone should watch Fitzcarraldo and Burden of Dreams also. But if you've seen Burden of Dreams and you know what goes into making a fucking movie in the middle of nowhere, like a really ambitious, fucking super difficult movie, it is shocking to think of what went into making Sorcerer.
Yeah, it has a little bit of a Heart of Darkness.
Yeah.
To go along with Burden of Dreams, like the making of Apocalypse Now. Yeah.
Wait, shit. What was I thinking of that's the making of Fitzcarraldo?
I think you're right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Hearts of Darkness. Yeah, sorry. I got you.
I'm just giving another example of
yeah.
Mm-hmm. And God, I mean, Roy Scheider, I don't know, outside of like Elliot Gould and maybe Burt, like an actor from the 70s that just like tonally represented a decade as well as Roy Scheider.
Yeah.
I mean, what an amazing run he had.
He really did, yeah.
Yeah, God, he was great. What a stressful experience fucking Sorcerer is.
Yeah, but it's fucking amazing.
Get out of that movie and you're like, your fucking lower back is damp and all your fingernails are gone.
Yeah. Oh man. I'd been wanting to see it for so long, and I finally it was streaming somewhere, so can't recommend it highly enough.
Yeah, I don't know if we're gonna get to it on the pod, but somebody
doubtful.
Yeah, somebody grew up with Sorcerer, but boy, yeah, it's a gem. Should be talked about a lot more.
Yeah. Well, we should probably kick it to
let's kick
Daniel.
it.
Yeah,
kick it to Daniel.
Really fun combo, and we'll be watching a fun movie next week too. So
yeah, good
shout
guy,
out Daniel.
Yeah.
To another installment of the Unkind Rewind, where we are getting to know our next guest, Daniel H. Wilson. Daniel, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience as you'd like to be known?
Sure. My name's Daniel H. Wilson. I'm a former roboticist and current author and screenwriter. I wrote a novel called Robopocalypse. My last novel was called The Andromeda Evolution, which is a sequel to Michael Crichton's The Andromeda Strain.
Okay.
Yeah, that's about it. Science fiction, and that's me.
Sure, right on.
He is science fiction.
That's me. Well, it's never been made clear whether I'm a robot or not.
Yeah, like I was gonna ask if you were created naturally. What, like, where do you fall on that? Do you kind of wish that you had more cybernetics, or?
These days, no, not so much. It's becoming passe. I'll go 100% organic.
So where, I guess, as a youth, like we'll let's establish, I guess, where did you grow up? What was your youth like?
Yeah, I grew up in Tulsa, Oklahoma,
Okay.
In the Cherokee Reservation, what is now the Cherokee Reservation, North Tulsa. But yeah, I grew up in the 80s. Tulsa's not a small town, it's kind of in the middle. So, but it's a little bit rural. I spent a lot of time, at the creeks and the woods, running around with dogs, and typical 80s latchkey kid situation.
Sure. Okay.
So, yeah.
And so as the sort of as the 80s latchkey kid, did you spend a lot of time watching movies on your own? Was there any sort of barrier by which you couldn't see certain things but were able to see other things?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was kind of already, it was clear I was going to be a roboticist someday. I think, I mean, I can remember, watching war games and finding out about phone freaking and how you could, so we did the version of that where we would just go behind like a gas station and just rip open their phone box and plug in so that we could call 900 numbers.
Okay.
And then of course for cable, back then they had all the little cable cylinder things that would plug in. So we would climb telephone poles and unplug those.
Okay.
And take them with us and take them home and plug them in to see which channel it would unscramble,
Okay.
Of course we were of the era of watching turning our heads sideways and watching the scrambled like Playboy channel.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
So
we all remember
that went a long way. Once I was big enough to climb a telephone pole, just the bottom, you don't want to get up there into the high voltage stuff. I wasn't suicidal.
Yeah.
Also I figured out later, if you go to a nice neighborhood, like suburbs, they have those in their backyard. You don't have to climb anything.
Nice.
So
Nice.
that was a breakthrough. We would just go to people's backyards and just kick those little green boxes open and take all of their little cylinders.
It's finally coming out.
Back up. Sometimes they wouldn't. But so that was what we did in order to watch all the cable we could. And then of course it was also like VHS. The heyday of VHS and video stores. So we had the video stores. We were a one VHS tape family. But I remember going to other friends' houses and they would like rent 3 or 4, and I was like, these people are crazy. But
can you regale Josh and I with a little bit of phone freaking?
Well, no, what I was doing wasn't actually phone freaking. Phone freaking is where you have a tone generator and you actually figure out the codes and you do all that. What I was doing was just vandalism, just like just connecting a rotary, like an old school analog rotary phone, directly into. The thing is, there's an entry point on the back of a building typically, and if it's a small enough building, then, of course, they can also pick up their phone, right? Whenever you're talking to the 900 people. I mean, I was talking to DJ Jazzy Jeff for the Fresh Prince.
Okay.
That's how young I was. I wasn't actually calling any really gross 900 numbers. But
did he have a 900 number?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They
did. It was before Will
This
Smith
is pre-Fresh Prince.
Yeah.
So it was like a Corey hotline. You would just call in and they would give you a little affirmation or something?
Yeah, it was just like a recording. I charged just
a stupid amount of money for all of that.
Yeah, just
like
crazy.
Yeah, I remember all of those commercials.
I called the Nintendo Power Line back in the day.
Oh yeah. That would have been a good one.
They had a great little propaganda scene of those guys. I think it's like in The Wizard, where we do like a real nice kind of dolly tracking shot through like this really upbeat kind of fun business complex where we have expert Nintendo players on the phone guiding people through different games, and they're all like, one's throwing kind of a tennis ball in the air and catching it, and you know how miserable in reality that would have been. That's something that we're
just talking to sweaty.
No, it's just like
pre-adolescence.
No, again, it's the third door. It's the third door. Oh God. Making minimum wage.
Oh my God.
So what was the impetus then for a lot of that? Did you have a gateway friend, or did you have somebody in the family? Was it, what was the kind of tumbler that fell in place with like your technical curiosity?
Yeah. Well, so my deal was science fiction, short stories. I really liked all of the analog and the magazine of science fiction and fantasy, and just like all the, back then it was Arthur C. Clarke and Asimov and Bradbury and Kurt Vonnegut and just like I love those short stories. And so that's mainly what I did was I read the hell out of all that stuff. So I was mostly a reader. So movies were kind of a secondary thing for me. I didn't, that wasn't what I keyed in on mostly. But so I did have some friends that I would watch stuff at their houses. And we had stuff, but I was always having to fight with my brother over what we're going to watch.
When you guys, you talked about being the kind of one video from the video store kind of family. What was that, a bartering system? Was it a switch off? How did you guys decide? Was there some compromising that needed to happen?
Yeah, there was always a lot of negotiation that happened there. And by the way, like 99% of the decision making is what's on the cover of the VHS.
Of course,
tape.
sure.
I mean, this was what governed. Like, there was no internet. We weren't looking. Nobody told us anything.
Yeah, it was all
we
box
were.
art,
I mean,
yeah.
except for what DJ Jazzy Jeff told me on the 900 numbers, I really didn't have a lot of outside input into my decision making. So it was all that. It was all just looking at it. And this movie that we're going to talk about, I can remember that VHS cover. That was the main thing that I do remember, and that was completely how we chose.
So this was a rental, and it wasn't something that you watched off a stolen cable.
No, well, I probably at some point watched it off stolen cable, but yeah, this was a rental. I can remember. I can remember the cover.
So Josh, you want to talk about what we're watching here?
The movie we're going to be watching next week, or for next week, is The Gate, which I think I speak for Sean when I say never fucking heard of it.
I have heard of
Really?
it. Let me say this.
Okay.
I have heard of it.
But you've not seen it.
I have not seen it. I've not seen the only thing I've seen, and Daniel will know what I'm talking about, and I don't want to tip my hand here with Josh, is something falls over. And then there is more than one thing. Does that make somewhat sense?
Wow, that is very vague, but I think I'm putting together what you're talking about.
There is an object. It is in a hallway, I believe. It falls over, and then it breaks apart into many things.
Now I get it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that is the extent of my Gate IQ.
By the way, I will also just say up front, I was young enough to where this was like back in the age of like Clash of the Titans, that was the level of, it was like claymation. What's the guy's name?
Harryhausen, Ray Harryhausen.
Yeah.
I think.
So this was the claymation appeared to be 100% full reality to me at this time. So when I saw anything that was like that, I felt like it was the greatest CG that you could imagine. I was fully immersed. This is a videotape of something that really happened. So I was probably like 8, or something.
And I'm sure that Josh probably has seen this
clip out of
well,
context.
maybe I'm sure this clip has come up in out of context, but probably the cover. Are you familiar with the box art of this? It's like a hand or a box, or I know that it's a menacing image of maybe a hand scraping down a box or something like that. Am I somewhat close?
No,
one of those.
The whole thing is that there's a hole. Shit's coming out of the hole. I mean, that's what the gate is. It's
Some might say a gate.
Yeah, it's a gateway. It's not exactly a gate. Actually, The Gate is a pretty damn stupid title. You just imagine it's like Tom Sawyer's like painting, whitewashing it. This is like a gateway to hell, man.
I'm assuming it was a placeholder until they came up with something better, and
then forgot.
How dare you?
Of course, like it always happens. You're just like, the gate's fine.
Yeah, that'll work.
We're gonna go with the gate.
So memory can be a tricky thing. In a few sentences, you don't need to go super in depth, but in a few sentences, having not rewatched this in ages, describe what you remember the basic plot of the film being.
Okay, yeah, and I'm hoping that I've got the right title and film that I'm talking about here, but I felt like this had a lot of it was never one of my favorite movies, right? It wasn't like a Goonies where you're just like, shit, I'm gonna watch this a million times.
Where you have it memorized.
But it had elements of a lot of movies that I did love. So it's like kids, Home Alone, dicking around. There's like some elements of like Critters or The Last Starfighter, because it's just kids and then crazy stuff happens. Something happens, I think a tree falls over. There's a hole in the ground. I don't know where all the parents are. They're gone. and then just crazy shit starts coming out of this hole, and it's like a
Okay.
gateway to hell. I don't know why the kids can't run up the street. I don't remember this, but they're stuck with all this crazy shit, and like they're having to deal with it on their own. And it was super scary to me at the time.
I mean, it is like a youth-oriented horror movie, right?
I think they're kids. Yeah. It was
Yeah.
kinda- I
Yeah,
think.
but like it's geared towards the youth audience, but it's
Scary.
Maybe a little.
Yeah, it's
this is
a
the
scary film.
The Ghoulies era.
Okay,
right?
sure,
So,
sure,
like,
sure.
This is although I can't remember Critters, Ghoulies, Gremlins, obviously being the mouth of that river or whatever, the head of that river. I think they were like little creepy monsters or something. So
There was something tonally about the gate that I think caused me to avoid it. I feel like the gate, and I'll obviously we'll verify this when I see it, may have been just a little bit too far on my like scary Richter scale, like Gremlins, of course, and Ghoulies, and there's certainly some levity and some more maybe
Billy
more
Zane gets his
comedic.
fingers bit off. We always burst into laughter
Sure.
in my house.
Okay.
Critters.
Some
They
more
bit Billy Zane's hand off.
some more comedic aspects. I mean, anything with the Zane train is funny. But there was something, I think, maybe a trailer about the gate that cautioned me. So I
gotta say, I disagree, because like there were a lot of movies that I never saw until now as an adult, because those VHS covers were just too scary.
Right.
So like that one with that silver ball that flies around, is that Phantasmagoria or something, or the Hellraiser stuff?
Yeah,
with
Hellraiser
Pinhead?
was certainly
Forget
too
about
The
scary.
it.
Hellraiser was, yeah.
Never went close.
Mhm.
Anything with devils or like Satan. I grew up in the Bible Belt. I mean, we were forced to go to church. My parents didn't go to church, but when the church bus came, they would make us leave.
Oh man!
So we would go. The church bus would take us to church, and they would stay home and like have a lovely Sunday.
We got a
And
church
what-
bus?
Yeah, they'll
That
do
sounds
anything to get you
horrible.
into church. So like they send a huge bus down our like super rural, tiny little road, and it would just, the trees would just slap the sides of the bus, and it would just show up, and the parents would be like, "Get out, go to church."
So
Go
they would
back.
send you to church, and then they would stay home and watch the gate.
Yeah, I think they were staying home and doing something. I
How
don't
big
know.
is this
I don't know
church?
what
Was this like at Oral Roberts or something? Like,
No, that's pretty far south of where I'm from.
Okay,
though. But
okay.
no, in Tulsa, I mean, if you're in Oklahoma, you throw a rock and hit a church. I mean, it's not.
no, I'm
I
just
could-
trying to think of like this church having buses that's picking people up is like a
Oh,
wildly
come on.
foreign
This is a
concept to
small
me.
church. That's a small church. And I mean, there's huge churches where, yeah, for sure. But this church was actually close enough that we could walk home, and we often did. We would
Okay.
just sneak out, and then we walk around behind, grocery stores and
Yeah,
steal
and
their
steel
phones.
cable
So
and
it was a little bit of a loosey-goosey kind of a childhood.
But these were not school buses that were like appropriated for the church. They were church.
They were
they were. Oh wow!
completely.
Wild.
They would take school buses, they'd paint them white, obviously.
sure.
And then and then they just send them around. Yeah.
This is
My dad-
crazy
the,
to me.
The church people would visit often to make sure that they would try to get my parents to go quite a bit. I remember there was a yellow slug bug, and anytime I saw that out front, I knew the church lady was trying to get my dad. He would stand with his body across the doorway, so that I still picture a silhouette of my dad leaning like a cowboy across the doorway, so she couldn't get in. Because
Oh my
once she
God.
got in, then
Yeah,
there'd be a
good
lot-
luck. Yeah.
Yeah,
She's trying to save the people in that house.
What
there's a
denomination
lot of
was this?
people- There's a lot of proselytization going on.
Hmm.
What'd you say?
What denomination was this?
Baptist. Yeah, Baptist.
Okay, that makes sense.
All right, moving on.
Yeah, moving on.
Anyway,
no,
you
this
know,
is just such a
Whatever.
weird.
It was just part of
Say
the
no more.
background. But as a result, I was really not having any of the movies that had demons or
Yeah.
Satan or hell or like Bibles or The Exorcist, stuff like that. And
But this
so
basically
those
has a
scared the hell out
hellmouth
of me.
in it, right? So was as
didn't
someone
know
who
it-
was having to go to church, was this like especially scary to you then?
Yeah, I mean, it was then. I mean, this is before Buffy, right?
Yeah,
So
sure.
the idea of a hellmouth, back then, that was pretty scary, because these were demons that were coming out. But I think I got tricked into watching it because I didn't understand what it was about.
Okay.
I'm a kid who, I remember being reduced to tears. I tried to get my mom to rent Clash of the Titans, which was my favorite movie. And there's this moment when the statue's head falls down on its side and it's speaking to and it's so scary. I think it's Andromeda. And so I saw
Oh, I know
Escape
this.
from New York. I saw Escape from New York, the video cover, and I didn't realize it was the Statue of Liberty's head on his
Okay,
side.
sure.
And I'm like, Mom, you got to get me this. And I burst into tears. I was like, what is this shit?
You got bait and switched.
I wanted to watch Clash of the Titans. That's the problem whenever you're taking everything based on the VHS cover.
You wanted a woman with snakes for hair and not Snake Plissken.
Yeah, I was close on the snake front.
That's too
but
bad.
not quite there.
So, how old were you when you were watching The Gate?
Yeah, I would say 8 to 10.
Okay.
Do you guys know when it came out?
It came out in 87.
87.
So video
But
source.
you caught it on video, so obviously
I would have been.
it could have been any
10.
time after that. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I'd have been probably 10. Yeah.
And that's where you saw it from a video. You saw it at home
Yeah.
or something. Okay.
VHS tape. Yep.
Sometimes the scariest way to see it.
Yeah, I mean, until you're watching Pee-wee's Big Adventure and you pause it right on large marge,
God.
you realize that that's not scary at all.
Again, claymation.
Yeah, right.
It seems like maybe that's a theme here with some fascination
movies.
and some fear. But yeah, I mean, the 80s were still kind of able to do that. I feel like the Puppet Master feels like kind of the last, like one of great examples of like stop motion and claymation. And
then there was a period of time of just terrible CG that doesn't hold up now at all.
Right.
And then
No,
there was a
it's
period
so
of
bad,
time
yeah.
where it's like, it's good enough. I don't give a shit. Like anything they've done in the last like 15 years with CG, who cares? Like it doesn't do anything for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they pretty much had it figured out. And now it's just whatever. I don't know.
And
fur
yet
or smoke or something.
93 Jurassic Park I could still watch today and not see issues with the CGI.
They're like over the hump, right?
Yeah.
But then what are some terrible ones? Like maybe the old Mummy movies or something like where the CG you're just like woof.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of stuff circa 2000 where you're just like, Jesus, this is so bad. And
Go
like
back to
it's
the
weird
claymation.
because you thought it was good at the time. Like like it was easy to at least like not see the seams. Like I don't know. It didn't seem as bad then as it sure did.
Oh yeah, the warts are
years
visible
later.
today.
Yeah.
So what do you think it was about The Gate that appealed to young Daniel?
Yeah, I mean, it had to be the kids, right? I remember I liked that the kids were in charge. I like that. The big thing for me with all horror movies is that I like it when they behave logically, right? Like, oh shit, like there's this hole in the ground. Like, what do we do? And like they kind of, as if I recall, nobody does anything like incredibly just stupid. Like they kind of are dealing with it. Even like, all the good movies, people basically are making the right decisions. It's just things are going wrong for them again and again. And that's the kind of movie you respect, except for, of course, the people that get killed who you want to get killed. They're stupid people. So yeah, that's how I experience horror movies is, I like a little attrition, I like to see a few people peel off and get killed, but ultimately you want your hero to just be like, making good decisions in a bad situation.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I liked about it. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe a little vicarious living through these three, probably, I don't know. I mean, they were maybe a little bit older than you at the time.
Yeah. I mean, look, like in the 80s, we were home alone a lot, like I had a big backyard. Like I spent a lot of time in my backyard or up the street at the creek with my dog. Like,
who knows where you're going to see a hole in the ground?
Yeah.
I mean,
were you worried that a hellgate was going to open up in your backyard?
I mean, I had dug many holes in my backyard.
Couldn't
My
find
backyard
one.
was filled with holes. Yeah. So that was like our pastime. Wow. You guys are getting me into it now. I'm realizing maybe why I like this movie.
Yeah.
We had motorcycles, so like we would ride motorcycles at the graveyard. That's where we rode them.
Okay.
In our neighborhood. So we'd be like, I learned when I was 5 to ride. So we would be riding motorcycles loose in our neighborhood with dogs.
Were these like
chasing
mini
us.
bikes or what were the?
At first, yeah.
Okay.
That 50 was what I started on. And then I ended up, on a 150 or something, like something reasonable for a kid. But yeah, so we were just, we were running loose. It was awful.
Do you have kids now? Would you let them have motorcycles?
I do have kids. They've got electric motorcycles. So, but in order to recreate the 80s, for me, I had to like literally I bought a small piece of property that's just woods basically, and I'm like, okay, go be 80s kids in
Right.
there, you know. Electric motorcycles I kind of like, man. They don't burn you when you turn them over.
Sure.
They don't make a lot of noise. You don't get as nervous because they're so loud. Everything's crazy and
They
high.
weigh less.
They weigh more. The batteries are super
Yeah, the
heavy.
battery's
So
crazy
like that's
heavy,
that's
yeah.
the only problem. Like, so my 5-year-old rides and she hasn't turned it. She turned it over once or twice at the very beginning, but like she couldn't get it back on up, you know, because she was too little. But now she's 6, so yeah, she's fine. They don't go that fast either, you know, relative to like a. But
yeah, it's not like a real, like it's not like it's not like you can do like 120 on it.
No, not they're super safe. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, whatever. I'm a pretty conservative, like in terms of safety. I want my kids to be safe, but
Right.
The point is just that the childhood that you get for free, like in the 80s, costs so much money and time now to have.
And probably the skepticism and disapproving looks and furrowed brows of your peers and fellow parents.
Well, once you get out into the country, though, if you go, so the property we have is an hour from Portland. Those people have the right attitude about right. Everybody's on a dirt bike or a skateboard or a mountain bike, or they're all doing stuff. And you know, there's 10-year-olds out there splitting cords of wood. And like, they got. And I gotta say, like, you know, I appreciate the urban and the rural. I like them both. I grew up with both, and so I'm trying to expose my kids to both. But
right on. So what memories do you have that stick out the most about your like experiences with the gate?
Okay, I mean, you know, I just remember. I mean, it would have been in our house in the 80s. My little brother, who's 2 years younger than me. But no air conditioning, both of us just sweaty, in a wood paneled living room on brown like shag rug, like straight up with a television. And by the way, I wanted to say this. I hope that if you guys are watching old movies from the 80s, that you're watching them on a television from the 80s. Don't tell me you're in some screening room or you're on a big fancy flat panel TV trying to watch this shit, because that's not authentic.
You need
if it's a movie from 1980, you need a television from 1980. That's my
Are
feeling.
you watching? Are you going to rewatch this on a on just a 19-inch like fucking rear projection TV here?
Oh yeah, with the 3 colors. Oh, that would be great. No, I do have an old piece of shit TV that I played Nintendo, the original SNES on, because you're not. I mean, what do you do with your life if you're playing that on a big flat panel? It's crazy. So I play all my old Nintendo games, and I have a VHS player that if I'm watching VHS, at one point I created an 80s tent where everything in the tent had to be 80s or before. So I had video, I had a VHS, you know, television, VHS player, which they're really hard to get VHS players anymore.
Yeah.
I should have just bought I should have bought 5 of them from thrift
stores. I know.
When you
there was that phase where you couldn't get rid of it.
They were everywhere.
You couldn't give them away. You couldn't sell it for a penny. And then they just kind of became.
Well, then they were like $100.
Yeah.
And then they went away entirely. And so now you can find old DVD players. And I was like, so anyway,
got to get them in an estate sale. But yeah, you play Nintendo on a TV like that. The image actually fills the screen. As opposed to like putting it on a TV now where you just have black bars and ratios.
So our TV that we were watching was a piece of furniture. And you could open up the top and it had a phonograph. It had a record player inside of it and like an 8-track player. And the top was like burnt up from like, you know, incense, my parents burning incense and like putting out like roaches and stuff. Oh, and in fact, this TV did have the knob was broken off and you had to turn the dial with hemostats. That's normally like a roach clip. Right?
Okay.
So like I'll never forget that little detail in my childhood. You know, having turning the TV dial with a roach clip because they like lock, right? You know, they're like scissors, but they're flat and then they lock, so you can lock it on and you can click. You know,
that's
so
hilarious.
So that's the
but that was just
scene,
a power knob. That wasn't like all the knobs for the channel, like turning the channels were still there. Right?
No, that was the channel knob. But like
Okay.
later, yeah, I don't know. I mean, Later, we had a box, a literal brown box with a cord. That went, I mean, this is crazy. I'm like grandpa. Then we had onions.
That was your cable box?
Yeah.
Okay.
It had like 3 levels, click, click, and then it had like 12 buttons. So you could do like 36 channels. Yeah.
Hopefully you didn't move a lot, because my God, I'm thinking about it right now, moving something like that with a TV and a phonograph.
Oh no, my dad still lives in this house, so this is our.
Yeah, this ain't.
Does he still have that TV?
No, he's upgraded his TV, but not the wood paneling. The wood paneling is still there. Like, I mean, this stuff's going on like 40, 50 years old.
Yeah. Is it the standard like thin wood paneling, or is this like wood?
No. Are you kidding me? That's high tone, sir. We just had the plastic.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah, covered in little holes from whenever we would just throw darts. I mean, just like
a lot of character.
Oh yeah, you know what? You remember the movie Overboard?
Oh yeah.
Basically, we're living like that.
Are you living out towards Astoria right now?
No. I live in Portland, Oregon.
Okay, is the rural property that you have is it towards Bend, or is it towards?
It's toward the ocean, yeah. So it's like halfway to the ocean.
So that is more of a overboard situation.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, we're not all the way to the coast. Yeah, I forgot about that. Right. Those were coast. But
that did shoot in Astoria, right?
Oh yeah, I don't know. I'm an Oklahoma person, so I never really paid attention.
Yeah, and Daniel's wife still has amnesia, which is really weird.
Yeah, the rape portion of that does not hold up very well in retrospect. So Revenge of the Nerds, Overboard. There's some movies now that's just like,
we've been finding a lot of that throughout this process.
But no, Tulsa, Oklahoma, famous for UHF. That's the only movie I think that's ever shot in Tulsa.
10 out of 10.
We're happy to have Weird Al. 10 out of 10.
No notes.
Wheel of
10
Fish.
out of 10. I mean, we could spend 4 days, probably, Daniel, you and me, going back on that one.
Right. We could. Sorry. So thank you for that trip down memory lane. That's setting the scene. That's what I remember. Just sweating my ass off watching this movie with my brother and just being pretty freaked out by it.
Nice. So last question before we let you get back to your life. What expectations do you have for your return to the gate?
Oh, yeah. I'm kind of feeling like that Harryhausen stuff isn't going to hold up.
Okay.
But I'm also trying to remember if there's like a babysitter who gets killed or how it works. So anyway, I'm just curious. I'm kind of, to be like dipping in my childhood a little bit to see like, he actually liked this. What an idiot,
Would you say you're optimistic?
Yeah.
It's going to retain some charm and
I think
a place for you.
At the very least, it's going to remind me of where I was at whenever I watched it, hopefully. So.
Sure. Yeah. You'll at least get the trip down memory lane, even if, are you worried that this is going to, in some way, shape or form, rewatching this is going to retroactively ruin some of your childhood?
No, I don't think there's a such thing as getting your childhood ruined. That's bullshit. I am, though, thinking about ruining my children's childhood by making them watch it with me.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
I've got an
awesome.
11-year-old son. So
and that would have been past when you saw it. I think.
I mean, right around 10 or 11, that would have been it. So,
it's time. Maybe it's time.
It's time to traumatize. You got to get those little bits of trauma in when you can.
Yeah, we did. I mean, we did COVID, so we've sat around the house and watched pretty much everything. So
sure,
he's I know all of his warning signs when he's about to freak out. I can just like a dad spidey sense, like nope, he's gonna lose it. We gotta get out. We can't do this one.
Yeah, that's why we hit pause and then take a break.
Click over to Little Adventure Time, cleanse the palate. You gotta have a palate cleanser.
Well, you could maybe do your your toe dipping back in the water viewing by yourself, and then if you feel, you know what, I was right, the boy needs to learn.
He'll be fine. He'll ridicule me for having been afraid of it, I'm sure.
Well,
let's all that thing, so I think he'll be all right.
I bet the thing is scarier.
You think? If he traumatized me.
Yeah, he's tempered steel at this point.
Yeah. Well, he didn't really see it, but he was there with his eyes closed, with his hands.
Okay.
That's a rough one.
he was up for it.
Okay. Right.
Well, don't let him ridicule you. Let us do that.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
You got to keep that
post-watch.
power dynamic in check,
Yeah.
So
I'm
Daniel,
actually pretty excited though, Josh. This is one that I have been aware of for 30 years.
Well,
Yeah.
I think it floats around, and I think it's got elements of a lot of the classics from this era. It doesn't quite come together in a way to make it a classic, obviously.
Yeah.
But I feel like it has enough of those. There's movies like Explorers and Flight of the Navigator and like Kroll. What was that one? No, where they kind of have elements of other really great movies from that time, but they just sort of they didn't never come together completely enough to become classics. And I feel like that's where it's. I could be totally wrong, but I feel like that's where it's floating around. So
okay, sure. Well, Daniel, thank you for joining us. I'm looking forward to watching this, even though I looked into it and I was like, no, this isn't what we're doing. But yeah, I don't have a relationship to it at all. And
it's very rare, I would say, when Josh kind of comes at this with a zero awareness.
Yeah.
And so I mean he's seen a lot of movies, probably seen more than me, and this is a rare one.
Well,
he's going
Daniel,
blind.
Where can listeners find you? Either socially or your website or
I'm just danielhwilson.com. You'll find me there. I think I have a Facebook page from me as an author, but I'm not really on much social media, although you can just email me. I do answer just emails.
Okay.
My email's at my website, and and you can find all my books and all my comic books and all the stuff I've written over there too.
Cool. Well, on that note, thank you for joining us, Daniel.
Thank you.
And
all right, thanks, Josh.
We'll see everyone next week.
We'll see you next week.
You've just listened to another installment of the Unkind Rewind podcast, mining and potentially ruining your childhood for content, one film at a time. Unkind Rewind is a Munchcast production and can be ingested wherever you listen to podcasts and on the Unkind Rewind YouTube channel. Music for this and every other episode of Unkind Rewind was composed by Divorcio Suave. Rate and review Unkind Rewind on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods, Yelp, IMDb, Consumer Reports, Google Reviews, and TripAdvisor. Links to all of our social media accounts are in our show notes, but you'll find us as at Unkind Rewind Pod on nearly every social media platform that makes sense. If you had a question, concern, complaint, or positive feedback, you can email the podcast at unkindrewindpod@gmail.com, or you can join the lively Munchcast Discord to discuss this or any other episode of the Unkind Rewind with like-minded people. This dialogue with the pod may just make it into the next week's ep, so chat away. The Unkind Rewind Patreon will be coming soon, so start squirreling that pocket change away. Thank you for listening to another Unkind Rewind.